Hello, Anthem fans, and welcome to Freelancer Radio, your home for all things Anthem. This is episode number 6, a month later. I'm your host, KJ. Rounding out the rest of the crew today is Goose.
Hey, everybody.
Andrew.
What's up, peoples?
Justin.
Ooh.
And my boy, Marlon.
Hey, guys, what's up?
All right, so we're going to do things a little bit differently than what we do normally. Normally, it's just a whole host of different topics. We kind of run down through them. We've got a few topics to talk through today, but it's really going to be more of a brainstorming type deal. And what's going on with Anthem? Where are there things that can be fixed, and where can we go in the future with the game? The good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to talk through it all. There are a few things we're going to get to just prior to that, and I'm going to kick it over to Goose so he can talk about some of the NPD numbers that were released last week. Goose?
Yeah, I'll take over that. So the NPD group released their numbers last week, and oddly enough, for some, surprisingly, Anthem sold exceptionally well. It was the best-selling game in February 2019, and as of right now, it's the second best-selling game in all of 2019, right behind Kingdom Hearts 3, which I guess makes sense because that game was very, very popular. I have to point out that for the NPD group, they weren't able to count digital sales for Anthem. They indicated that in their report. So these are all physical copies that sold starting February 22nd. So the fact that it was the best-selling game in February for all of 6 days is very impressive. It charted number 1 on both PS4's and Xbox One's list. And I just want to kick it back over to you guys, to Marlon in particular. Like, what do you think about it charting? I mean, there was all this hubbub and all this talk about it not charting or it not selling. I mean, what do you think led to the sales numbers?
Well, a couple of things would have happened for me that made it surprising that it was such big numbers in fan base playing the game and just overall sales. Number one, the lack of other competing games during that time. You could say that Division had not come out. You could say that Kingdom Hearts 3 had just come out and people were playing single player games. There was not many of those shooter looter games during that time frame period. You could say that we had Destiny with Season of the Drifter, but a lot of people that were playing Destiny and they were kind of just done with the game by that point, they were migrating to play Anthem. So that could have done some migration of some of the numbers. Honestly, I'm surprised more in the sense of how well the game has done, relatively speaking, compared to how many of the reviewers came out of the game. Mm-hmm. Because there was a lot of people that were saying that the state of the game was not good, that the game had issues, the game had problems, and even then, us here in Anthem Freelancer Radio, we were talking about some of the issues that the game had. Some very big issues. But the fact is that people, really enjoyed this game, and people were playing it regardless of the bugs and stuff like that. So I'm gonna ask you, Andrew. So what do you think? At least in my perspective, I think it's just that it was maybe lack of a better shooter looter in that instances. Maybe you have another opinion about it.
I think marketing did a heck of a job hyping this game up.
Right,
I think that's what it falls down to. I think pre-orders sales were probably a big part of that. People were really hyped for this game for many years now. My guess is that a lot of people purchased this game prior to all the reviews and all the commentary afterwards.
Gotcha.
I want to correct. Sorry, Justin. I want to correct myself real quick. Digital sales were not included in the MPD numbers, but PC digital sales weren't included. Digital sales on console were. Sorry about that. Just want to make that clear.
I was going, wait.
Well,
These
there's
numbers
also
don't add up.
the EA access.
Right. So that was my question.
Origins.
So the NPD numbers were all physical copies, but not PC. But you had the EA, early access. So that they didn't count that EA early access Origins.
No, they can't.
Correct. That's why I brought that up right now. Because since PC digital sales weren't included, which I'm pretty sure were a big portion of sales a week prior, starting February 15th, the game probably could have charted higher. It maybe could have overtaken Kingdom Hearts 3. We don't know because the numbers are skewed.
Gotcha.
Right. Mm-hmm. But it definitely sold more than what's been let on.
So that's really impressive, actually, if they had like all those numbers, especially for physical copies. Because if you think about it, those people that were playing the game early access, that were throwing all their complaints, making these headlines that are out there, Anthem's horrible, they didn't have the day one patch, and everyone listening and talking about this, and their sales still skyrocketed, and you're telling me that their numbers were phenomenal. It outbeat Kingdom Hearts. Come on, Kingdom Hearts is a 20-year franchise. I was waiting for Kingdom Hearts since I was like 10 years old. You telling me that this game Anthem outsold it? That's crazy.
No, I don't think it did. I'm just saying it could have. But I agree. I agree with you. I doubt that it did. But I think the fact that it charted first in February, considering the fact that it only sold for 6 days based on the accounting on how they counted the numbers, and the fact that it's the second best-selling game in the whole year, even though we're only 3 months in, about to be 4 months in. I think it's very impressive.
I bet you some of those people are like, you know what? It's probably not even that bad. Like these guys are just blowing smoke. No. I gotta check this out for myself.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because I remember when I was a kid, and I'm pretty sure there are millions of people who still buy games the same way. When I was a kid, there wasn't internet, or if there was, I didn't have access to it. So I didn't buy games based on reviews or what commentators said or reviewers said. I bought it based on word of mouth, or if the cover looked cool, I bought it. I was like, oh, that's a cool game with a cool cover. And I'm pretty sure that people who shop at, brick and mortar stores, GameStop, Walmart, and the likes, they saw it and they're like, oh, what's that? Well, I think I've heard of that. My friend talked about it. Yeah, I'm going to pick it up.
And, something that you mentioned about the numbers, and now that I'm thinking about it, because this was going in the back of my mind when the news break out. When we saw the MPD numbers, and I go, okay, like Andrew said, the BioWare and EA did a heck of a job in marketing this game, and then as the month was off and everything goes off, then you hear about the news about EA laying off 250 staffs in marketing and publishing and operations. And I'm going, wait a minute. Anthem just show you that it's one of the best seller games that EA has had past couple of months, along with Apex Legends. And yet they are downsizing due to Activision and all these things happening on EA. And I'm just going to myself and thinking, it's EA. It's not a BioWare problem. This is just a problem that EA has had past couple of years. It's just they release a good product, and yet because of marketing issues and because of the way that they handle things up in the background, tends to muddle and taint some of the things that this game developers and game publishers do. A lot of the issues that BioWare has had tried to do with Anthem is try to be open-minded, be translucent and transparent when it comes to their communication with the
fans, the community,
the fans and stuff like
that. But let's be honest, man. This is not. I mean, I'm sorry. I truly enjoy playing Anthem. I love the game. I love the gameplay. That's why I continue to play. But this is not a good product. Sorry, it's not. Hands down. I mean, I've got personal standards with work that I produce, in my life. And I would have never been okay as a developer releasing the game in the state it currently is in.
I'm truly appalled right now that KJ just said that.
Well, I think the word looking for is shocked. Okay.
I am a champion. I am a champion for this game. I love this game. I love the gameplay. I go on. I play every single night. I have a really good time doing it. But honestly, should not have been released in the state it's in. End of story.
You think they should have waited a month or something like that, or maybe
not even a month? Should have waited 6 months or a year.
Yeah,
I just go back to the fact that the game was supposed to come out back in 2018. It got pushed back, and EA needed to hit that fiscal March 31st deadline to make sure that they satisfied the investors. Battlefield 5 wasn't the hit that they thought it was going to be. That put a bigger, that put more pressure on BioWare to deliver. So I'm not excusing. I'm not trying to give BioWare an out, but I think those are things that are out of their control.
Mm-hmm. They were swimming upstream, basically. Out of the financial aspect of this, there is always a financial aspect of the equation, which is totally out of BioWare's control. I am adamant in the belief that the guys over at BioWare probably were saying it's not ready, it's not ready, it's not ready. Yeah. And they were forced to release a product, and they have been in like just CYA mode ever since this game released. I mean, that is probably honestly why they're being so as transparent as they are being about things. Because I mean, I don't feel like it's their fault. I feel like, they were given a deadline. They had to meet it regardless. They released a product they weren't ready to release. This could have sat in production for at least another 6 months to a year. Actually released the game in a state in which it was truly ready to be played. And we are fighting through all of the things that we shouldn't have to be fighting through with the money that we paid for the game. And that's why you don't see new armor sets. That's why you don't see, you don't see the game in a state where it's 100% playable all the time. All of the pilot errors, regardless of how many fixes that they put into it, all of the, loot problems, the reason why they're not releasing additional legendaries and masterworks, all of that comes back to the game is not in a state of performance that's ready to be able to handle all that.
To be fair to BioWare, and I'm gonna use this to segue over to the patch that they just put out recently, the 1.04 patch. They've been very, very good at releasing updates and releasing them quickly. We're going to get shortly into this, but they have fallen into the same pitfall that Bungie has, where they put out an update that fixes a whole host of things, but then destroys a whole host of things. But unlike Bungie, when that happens, they have been very, very quick to fix what's going on. But going into that, I'm going to go into some of the game updates, because we were starting to go down a path that we will go down soon enough in this conversation, and I just want to bring us back on track. So some of the new features that they've included are the legendary missions, which you're allowed to play like a critical path mission on a much higher difficulty level. I'm going to return back to that. The Elysian caches, or as one of our friends loves to affectionately say, kashiki. It's where you
Justin and his kashiki keys.
It's kashiki.
It's kashiki.
Kashiki. Oh my gosh.
God, Lord.
So you earn these keys by completing daily challenges, and then you can open a chest at the end of a stronghold after you beat the boss. There was another issue with that. They had some loot changes. I'm going to highlight some of those. On Grandmaster 1 difficulty and higher, stronghold bosses will now drop more loot with a chance of an additional masterwork and legendary items. They've had some PC changes. They had some changes for the graphics card when it came to NVIDIA. Let's see what else. They got some performance, which I personally like, because when I played it on Saturday, I noticed, for me, and again, I know that not everybody notices these things, when there were some of the heavy heavy fire effects, like I noticed some noticeable slowdown. So there was improved performance on gameplay effects that were updating or running often to reduce performance strain. Things like UI, weather, time of day. Another one that I actually liked, although I think it feels a little wonky, and actually before I continue, I'll ask you guys about it, but the Forge can now be accessed via the main menu while you're in Fort Tarsus or the launch bay, and there's no longer a loading screen when entering the Forge. How do you guys feel about this in particular?
So, like I said on last week's show, Goose, because you weren't there, I want a soundboard with like the children cheering, going like, "Yay!" That is honestly something I'm really. I played actually not too long ago. I played probably like an hour ago some Anthem, and that patch being there, I'm really happy. I love it that there's no more loading screen for that, but it's something that should have been released day one with the game, or maybe with the day one patch, So that it's just that little improvement that makes the game makes the game flow a little bit better.
I like the fact that you have the little animation too. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but when you go into that Forge screen, it's not just your normal Forge screen right to begin with. Like whatever your animation is at the end of the missions, like your character will do that animation real quick, and then you actually have to press a button, whether it's X on PlayStation or whatever on Xbox. You have to press a button to be able to go more into the actual normal Forge screen from there. But I do like that the Forge screen also has a list of all of your components on the right-hand side now. That was very helpful. I did get, when I was playing last night, I did the legendary missions. I did the stuff so I could get my key for the Elysium chest. I went and got my Elysium chest. I did not get a really good thing out of the Elysium chest. I got a whole bunch of Colossus parts, which are useless to me because I don't really play Colossus at all. But it's good that there was something at the end of that there. And then I ended up getting a much better masterwork. I got a couple cool masterwork components that I was able to trade out, and I got a legendary component that I was able to trade out on my Ranger, and the inscriptions, the way that it all worked, the stuff that was available with that came together on that was really cool. I almost wish that I was using a light machine gun on the regular, because one of the components that I got increased the damage for light machine guns. And it was such a cool inscription, because every time you hit a enemy 10 times in a row, or any enemies 10 times in a row with a light machine gun, it froze whatever enemy that was. So I really didn't get to test that out, but I thought that was pretty cool inscription.
So wait a minute. Going back real quick, you got the chest, but you're playing as a Ranger, but you got Colossus gear.
I got Colossus parts, which are used for creating more masterwork items or whatever else, through the crafting.
Yeah.
But I don't use Colossus, but that they did say that was possible. I mean, it's not like they were hiding that. There's the potential to get parts for any one of the 4 javelins.
That's a little upsetting. That's a little upsetting, because I remember back in my Destiny 1 days, before they did that update, I would be playing as my hunter. Next, I got an exotic, and then I only had my hunter, and then next I got an exotic for a warlock. I'm like, come on, whatever. It's one of those things.
Look, I understand where both of you guys are coming from, but bringing it back to the topic that Gustavo said, it's how can I say this in a nice way? There's the fact that the patches are being fixed, and the fact that BioWare is coming here and say, listen, the Elysium, yes, it has some issues. It's not what we promised. I understand that people mistook what we said, but we are working on it. And the fact that, for me, the Elysium chests are a good thing, even though they give you, like KJ said, Colossus part or any part from all the Javelin stuff like that. it forces you to, hey, listen, you got some parts from some of your other javelins here. You might go and try them out. That's my point of view. Some people don't like it. I understand where you're coming from, Justin. But for me, you have 4 javelins. Use them. Don't be stuck using only one. That's my point.
I like that, Ranger.
I agree with that, but keep it on topic. BioWare has been incredibly responsive when it comes to the patches. I mean, this was
30 pages of notes, man. That's a lot of work in a couple weeks.
It was a very meaty patch, but half of me was like a little despondent because I'm like, oh, this just feels like stuff that should have been in there since day one. I know people get upset when some of the fans get upset when you hear that of any games, not just Anthem, but you just see this laundry list of things that they fixed, and I just can't help but think, I'm like, did they know that going in? I mean, some of the stuff that you see in terms of like buffing certain javelins, inscriptions or components, I'm like, all right, that's valid, that's community based, that's just based on feedback that they're getting from the community and the telemetry that they have, the data. I'm pretty sure they have like a war room like sensor where they can just get this feedback without the players actually having to tell them. So that's great. But some of the stuff like the legendary missions and the Elysian caches, I'm like look at your contemporaries, like look at Division, look at Warframe, look at Bungie with Destiny, and like, wouldn't you think that that's where things are trending? Like, wouldn't you say, hey, listen, we need to have something like this in the game? So it's a little.
I think I've said this before, and I really do believe this. I think that at some point that, these guys live life in a little bit of a bubble. It's kind of like at your own house. If there's, something that's slightly out of place, but you've lived with it for so long that you don't really notice it until somebody points it out and says, hey, that kind of looks weird or whatever. And you're like, oh yeah, that kind of does look weird, but I really wasn't thinking about it because I've walked past it every single day in my house and it doesn't look weird to me. I'm used to it. So I think one of the other things that when I say that they live in a bubble a little bit, you talked a little bit about a war room. So, I believe that a lot of these studios, they go ahead, they build like these massive rigs, these things that can they have super performance and everything else. And then they go in and they do all their testing with their game with this massive rig. But that's not what I got at my house.
KJ, I'm going to push back so hard on that. Just knowing how game development works, if in fact BioWare did it like that, then they're a horrible developer. Because that you should not develop like that. Everything has to be to scale, especially when you have so many systems. You have PS4, you have PS4 Pro, you have Xbox, you have Xbox One X, you have Xbox One S, which there's a slight variation when it comes to the original Xbox.
But
you have PC. You
have
have to scale to all of that. I mean, if the fact that you would say that they wouldn't even think of doing that is, I'm like, no, I don't want to call them a lousy or lazy developer.
They don't think about doing that. Okay, yeah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, they don't have PS4 original with a crappy internet connection out in the middle of Iowa. Okay, they don't.
We love you, Iowa, by the way.
No, I am not moving to Iowa.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, they don't have that. Okay.
Yeah, I think
I agree on the internet part. Like, I hear you on, hey, they're gonna have the best internet. Right, and when they demo the game, especially in public, they're going to show the best version of the game. Yes. But for their quality assurance team not to test the game out on the lower consoles it's just if it's true, it's just inexcusable. I just don't buy it.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't think they have the lower console with the bad internet, with the this, the that, the other, all these other things that out in the real world. When playing the game, they don't have all of those other factors to contend with.
I think basically my point of view when it comes to BioWare, and this is the way for me, that for any game developing as a whole, Bungie is sinful of this, is the fact that you put up a project, you've been working on it for the past 4 or 5 years. You've been using the latest models that you can do when it comes to your rigs and when it comes to your computer power and the way that you can handle the game, But there's so many things that can happen in the real world. There's so many different configurations. There's so many, aspects and, little nuances that happens in just when you're testing not with 100 players, not 1,000 players, but when you're testing with 1,000,000 players, that it breaks down the system. It breaks down what it can and cannot do. And I feel like Anthem, it's simple of this, because you can say, well, okay, so they were using, let's say that they were in a very sterile environment where everything was working fine for them. But the minute you put out everything out, their servers can't handle it anymore. They have issues with data pilots. They have issues with loading screens. They have issues with, you know, the way that the game runs when it comes to just overall, you know, performance. Because everybody's different. They have different internets. They have different PCs working with different parts that may or may not be compatible with the game. You know, I have heard SSDs that, you know, basically go rampant on the way that they write the game, because they are basically loading and unloading everything into the hard drive on a scale that, for me, it like baffles me. So I don't feel like BioWare did enough testing, but unfortunately there's not much testing that you can do. I mean, there's only so much power or manpower that a publisher or a game developer has when it comes to, you know, testing out this, you know, games as a service type of deals. You know, I'm not giving them a pass. I'm just saying, hey,
I'm gonna cut in and table it. I'm gonna table this one real quick, because again we keep going towards our destination and skipping through a couple of the topics that that I really want to touch on. But when I first started talking about the patch, the Elysian caches were very cool. I'm like, this is even me on the periphery was like, wow, this is awesome. This sounds like something that I'm accustomed to on games like Destiny. Maybe I'll check it out. But there was a little bit of a controversy, because like a couple weeks before, Ben Irving, who's the lead producer over on Anthem, said, hey, the Elysian chest should be up next week. And then he retweeted he quoted his tweet and said, my bad here. I read the question as, when can we earn vanity in Anthem, as opposed to when can we earn armor? There are no armor packs in the Elysian caches, but there are a lot of very cool vinyls, arrival animations, victory poses, and emotes. More details coming. And the community had a fit. And I know Ben Irving is a very nice guy. I'm pretty sure he's a great guy. But I didn't buy that. I didn't buy that at all, because I had been paying attention to the Anthem Reddit. I had been paying attention to the community at large. And I'm like, all they're talking about is armor. I mean, this is all they're talking about when it comes to these cache keys and the loot boxes. And for them to just misread that and come out with some little tweet saying, hey, I'm sorry, I misread it. I'm like, damn, dude,
I'll tell you what happened.
No,
point of view.
They said armor. I know they said armor in one of those Twitch streams. They did say armor.
I'll tell you this. KJ, I'll tell you this. I feel like BioWare was saying, hey, listen, you're going to have to be able to earn all of these cool things, you know, vinyls, emotes, armor, whatnot. I feel that EA basically said, nah. You keep the armors as microtransactions. You keep it that way because we need our bottom line to be done, and we need that cash inflow. Man,
I'm gonna push back on that
because
too.
he changed like this.
I'm one of the first ones I'm one of the first ones to dump. I call myself to dump on EA, right? But to try to make them out, I think this is squarely on BioWare's door, dude. I just think this is on them. I don't think this is an EA decision. I'm pretty sure that EA is pushing for microtransactions. But to pull a move like that in bad faith, especially when they haven't been acting like that before, they haven't set that precedent at all. They've been really forthcoming. They've been really honest. I think they screwed up. I don't think it was done on purpose. I just think they screwed up big time, and I just think it's inexcusable, because like that's all the community was talking about. Even I remember Arix, he had a video where he was like, "Hey, listen, like I play it every day, but this isn't the thing." Like Andrew loves to say this, you know, Destiny's home. For Arix, Anthem wasn't home, and he was like, this could be home for me. This could be the thing that I go back to every night to play and grind out these keys so I can open a chest and get some cool loot. And that wasn't the case. So I'm like, I don't know how I felt. That made me feel not good. I was like, I don't like this.
Did anybody watch the Angry Joe review on this the month later? Angry Joe?
I don't know who Angry Joe is.
One of the things that he mentioned, I thought it was very interesting, is that They brought up a vinyl just prior to the patch, and they were selling it for 61,000 coin.
Yes.
A vinyl, not an armor set, a vinyl, 61,000 coin. Okay, which is relatable to about $8 in real life, $8 US.
Ouch.
Okay. And then as soon as the patch went live, that went away and an emote took its place. And he said that he believes that they were testing the waters on whether they can get away with selling a vinyl for $8. And I'm not one for conspiracy theories.
Me neither. Me neither.
That just bothered me. First of all, that a vinyl was up for $8 bothered me to begin with. Okay, I hadn't thought about it like that, but I did once he said something, and it bothered me. It's been bothering me ever since he said it, and that is something that's going to stick with me a little bit on this game. Is that $8 microtransaction? Now I earn coin better than anybody in this group. Okay, but $8 worth of coin for a vinyl.
It's because you're a hooker in Anthem. That's why.
That's right. I am a hooker in Anthem.
KJ, I'll ask you this question: does it make you feel uneasy because the publisher is EA, or EA has no bearing on you feeling uneasy?
I don't care who the publisher is of any game. I don't care.
Gotcha.
That $8 for a vinyl, that is not an armor set. I mean, even $8 for an armor set for a game that I already paid this much money for, that doesn't have a ton of loot for me to go out there and chase right now to change. I mean, literally, because I bought the Legion of Dawn version of the game, I've got 3 armor sets to choose from that were originally part of the game. Right?
Wow.
For my character. I have 3 armor sets, and one of them I actually have to spend coin on to purchase parts for. So technically, there's only 2 that are actually given to me. It's the original armor set for whatever the Anthem character, the Javelin that I'm using, and the Legion of Dawn version, and I can switch between those 2. Those are the only 2 I haven't actually paid for, whether it's in-game currency or out-of-game currency. Those are the only 2 armor sets that came with the game, and that's only because I purchased the Legion of Dawn version. Had I not purchased the Legion of Dawn version, there would have only been 1 armor set, and that would have been the original armor set that comes with your Javelin.
That's my $81.13.
That I have a problem with. I do have a problem with that.
Here, the thing for me is that, look, I'm not, like KJ said, I'm not one for conspiracy theories and stuff like that. It's just that when I saw the memo that EA executives put out when they were laying off the 350 people, you could take out the word gamers from that memo and put investors on it, and it fits wonderfully to the way that he's talking about, because they're trying to find new revenue areas, new ways of experiences for the gamer. And for me, that's when I realized, okay, BioWare's in a situation right now where, yes, the game has issues, the game has problems, they're trying to fix it as quickly as possible, but I feel like EA is also in the back of the mind going, listen, if you don't try to do something with your microtransactions and try to push it a little bit more, we may have issues. Because I feel like EA is very hands-off when it comes to game developing, and the way that they, but there is very, very, very hands-on when it comes to microtransactions. That's my point of view. Like, they don't tell you how to build a game, they just tell you they needs to have a microtransaction on it. Some form, somehow, it just needs to have it. And you need to push it sometimes.
Seeing as we're such like we're so into this right now, we're just gonna throw down and we're finally gonna talk about what we've been wanting to talk about since the beginning of the show. I've been trying to rein you guys back in.
Sorry,
but no, we're fine. We're finally gonna talk about the state of Anthem. Like, it's been a month. How do you guys feel about it? What do you guys don't feel about it? I'm going to kick this over to Andrew. He's been quiet for a little bit. Andrew, what do you feel about Anthem going forward? What do you feel about Anthem now? What would you like to see?
Right now, man, I don't like the state of Anthem right now. I mean, I've said it several times. I look forward to what it's going to be in a few months, but right now it still feels like it's like an early access game. There's so many issues with it. They're fixing a lot of stuff little by little, of course. For example, with patch 1.04. But it almost feels like it takes a step forward, 2 steps back. I mean, with the whole Elysian cache thing, for example, they shouldn't. The game, they need more people to play this game to enjoy it. Why are you going to hold back armor? Like, why? What decision? I mean, of course, I feel like it's for microtransactions. I 100% believe that. If you look at any demos that BioWare put out displaying the game, it shows a ton of different armor sets, and you barely see any of that in the current state.
So maybe they do have a lot of armor, but it's just basically behind a paywall.
I'm being naive here, and I think the listeners probably will call me out on this. Maybe EA is meddling more than we think they are, and I really hope that's not the case. But I just think the game lacks content, and I want to define content in very, very narrow terms. I did this on the Discord with the guys. For me, not including things like raids and strikes and things like that, which they're also short on. In terms of what's going to keep me chasing loot, is loot, and I don't think there's enough loot. Like, why would I do strikes? Why would I do cataclysms? Why would I do strongholds? Because I want that sweet, lovely loot, the candy, like Justin likes to call it. Ooh, piece of candy, right? And for me in particular right now, there isn't enough loot that differentiates itself from one another to have me chase, to have me, do strongholds over and over again. Put aside the fact that, right, there's only 3 strongholds, right? Put that aside, because they have those legendary missions out now, right? Put aside the legendary contracts as well. I just don't think that there's enough loot to go around. Go ahead, Marlon.
To quote a friend of ours, Joe, and he said it best when Justin and him were playing the Division 2, says there's this, stick, this carrot on a stick that makes you want to go and get it. It makes you drive yourself forward to get this thing. For me, the carrot, it is a golden carrot that I saw with the Elysium chest. And then when I saw what it actually had on it, the carrot was tainted. It was putrid. It was rotten. And it basically took any drive for me to go out and do any of this type of things, because what's the point of me going out there and looking for loot when I finally go get the loot? It is not what I'm looking for.
And then in addition to that, and I'll kick it over to Justin and see what he thinks, but in addition to that, like, I think of, and maybe the listeners probably will get mad because I think I can speak for everybody when I say that we will reference Bungie and Destiny often, because that was, for most of us on this group, the looter shooter that brought us together, and the first looter shooter that we experienced that we actually fell in love with. So we will reference that game a lot. But one of the things that they did, which was a good thing, was that they would sprinkle exotics here and there, even at a low light level, and you were able to experience that power. So the delivery of how they gave you their top tier loot was much more different than Anthem, where you have to get to level 30 and you have to do these strongholds or these other missions in order to get that. And by the time that you get to 30, you may or may not be burned out. Go ahead, Andrew.
So I guess what you're talking about with not enough loot, I get that, what you're saying. I get the whole Destiny sprinkled exotics here and there. I think where Destiny succeeded and where Anthem's failing is the in-game activities, pretty much. Why do you need to hunt that gear for? Like, why are you grinding for that gear? To use it for the end-game activities. In Destiny, you had PvP and raids and stuff like that, and you needed these exotics and top-tier weapons to be able to complete these activities. In Anthem right now, all you have is Grandmaster, and you get different inscriptions on stuff. I don't feel an incentive to chase after a specific weapon. I don't feel that incentive to get that gear right now, and that loot. And that's where I feel like Anthem's lack of in-game activities is hurting it big time.
Justin?
So I'm gonna tell like I'm gonna kind of set the table here, like how Goose likes to say a lot. Before after our last podcast, um, jokingly wise, I felt like I got a stern talking to, but it's more of hey, we need to go back into Anthem and give it a good shot because I was sitting at level 24 and I wasn't grinding and I was kind of like, I'm gonna wait till it gets a little bit better kind of thing. But I'm glad that I did. I went back to Anthem and KJ jumped on with me. Thank you, KJ, because he is running Grandmaster 1/2 right now. And we are running some strongholds together. And not gonna lie, I was having a blast and it was like a snowball effect and it was going, and I got my very first masterwork. It was some I forgot what the gun was, but it was really cool. But it pretty much like after every third shot, there was like a 33% chance of like some kind of lightning or electricity damage doing to the ad or enemy, and it was dope. It was cool. But again, I'm stuck in a state of Division 2 right now. Me and Joe are constantly jumping on Division 2, grinding it out, getting ready. We just keep telling each other, we gotta get ready for this raid. And that's something that Anthem's missing for me. It's like Andrew said, like that end game grind. That why am I doing all this exactly? So another podcast, Division 2 and their broken end game. That's a whole different story. But I did go back. I did play Anthem again. I am up to like 28, close to 29, almost to 30 kind of thing going on. But there was a time and point where before KJ jumped on, I'm not sure if KJ was there or not, but I know I was playing with you three, Andrew, Goose, and Marlon, that I was still, putting the game down, and the three of you guys were like, you know what, just say it. You don't like the game. And I exploded. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I don't like the game. I don't.
Back off.
I was like, back off. I was like, everyone, leave me alone. I'm starting my own group chat, my own party, my own podcast series. Just leave me alone.
Look, Justin, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Marlon. I pushed everybody back, and I was like, look, I don't like the weapon system where you have to hold the square on PlayStation or X button on Xbox to switch weapons because I'm used to that for reloading. I have to hit Y or the triangle button for melee, for crying out loud. That's the thing that I want to switch weapons with. I need a custom controller layout. I need that. I need to be able to switch the button configurations around so I feel comfortable with it.
Although you are aware that it exists on the UI level, you would like it at an in-game level.
Well, yeah, at an in-game level, exactly. I no problem. I could do it. I could do it on the system, but that's not the point. And it's just these little things that, you know what? I don't like the game. I do not like it. And when I was hearing that this 1.04 update and this patch was coming, I was like, okay, maybe it's going to make things a little bit better. For example, I believe the 1.04, the flying aspect was supposed to change, right, KJ? 25% on
the
on
booster.
You're extended. Yep.
Exactly. I just played it, like I said, like 2 hours ago. You know what? I can't even tell a difference, to be honest. I can't tell the difference. I don't know. Maybe they gypped me. The armor sets, I was really pumped for the armor sets. They're not there, like KJ said. I have been saying all the podcasts, $81, 13 cents.
So
I have 2 sets of gear. That's it.
So I'll cut in here and say, so many of us on the group are not happy with the state of the game. Some of us are not even actively playing it, although we are keeping up with the news and we are doing our best to make sure that we're tight-knit to this game. But seeing as we have some problems with the game, what are some lists of improvements that you guys would like to see going forward? And I'll kick it off, and I'll jump off the coattails of Andrew, really, when he mentioned, hey, one of the things that Destiny had going for it was that you can get this type of loot, exotics or whatnot, that enabled you to do other things and other activities, like, for example, PvP, which we don't have here, which is fine, but in the raids, which you also don't have. So my idea is this. What is the reason of doing Grandmaster 3 two or one for that matter, besides getting Masterworks, right? What do these Masterworks do, right? So what I was thinking, and I'm pretty sure somebody has come up with this idea already. I'm like, hey, why don't you have like a Grandmaster 1 specific gear set, weapon set for each Grandmaster? So for Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3. And then once you complete all 3, you get a 4th set, which is only like for the top tier, top level players, right? Like the cream of the crop level players. And I'm like, that to me seems something cool that would incentivize me to play these strongholds, right? Where I can only get something by doing this. And the game doesn't have that type of structure right now. That's one of the things that I would want to have in the game so I could enjoy it that way. How do you guys feel about this?
You want to be able to show off. I mean,
Yeah.
It's basically what it is. When I drop in, right, into free play, and I've got a group of 3 people I don't even know with me, right, and I've got that cool armor set that you can only get because I completed all 3 levels, and now I've got like the
Flaming's going
super
down.
cool one with the flames coming out of the sides or whatever, something.
Golden wings, you know?
Right. And then everybody looks at me and goes, "Oh, that's the dude. That's the dude that's in charge on this run of free play or this next stronghold. I'm following him. I'm getting behind that guy because he knows what he's doing. That's the guy I want to be." And you're right, man. They don't have it right now, and it's probably one of those things that would incentivize more people to jump back on the game and start playing. I also think that when it comes down to it, the weapons themselves, I believe that honestly, the Thunderbolt of Yevenia, which is Justin's new masterwork.
Oh yeah, thank you, KJ.
All right, and the Divine Vengeance, which is my favorite weapon, are probably the only 2 weapons in the game right now that I feel have a defining factor to them, like an exotic from other games. They're the only 2 weapons. I mean, Avenging Herald, very cool. Some of these other weapons where you have to hover to be able to get a certain amount of additional damage or blah, 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 blah. Cool idea. But when I shoot my Divine Vengeance and it's like 6,000 plus 50,000 explosion comes off the freaking dude. Then another 6,000 crit damage only when I'm shooting that weapon. That's freaking awesome. And when I see this massive explosion hit the boss every 3rd bullet when I'm hitting crits, that is one of those things where it's like, oh, that's freaking cool. The Yevenia, when that thing hits and you see that lightning bolt strike come down and it hits the guy, it's just cool looking. I mean, honestly, that is really neat. The rest of the weapons, I don't care what it is or what it does. I mean, some of the things, they've got really neat inscriptions to them or whatever, but it doesn't give me what those 2 weapons give me.
Personality. I call it personality.
Yeah. You know what? I only got that weapon because I was 25 when I got that weapon. I only got that weapon because I was running it with KJ, and he's like, you know what? I'm taking over this mug, and you're gonna run a Grandmaster 1 with me. And I'm like, all right, cool. You know what? I'm gonna get downed a couple of times during this Stronghold Grandmaster 1. You know, I'm not even at 30 yet, and I got my first masterwork. It was phenomenal. It was the one gun that kept me going. You know, that steamroll, that snowball effect. But now I haven't seen a single masterwork because 1, I'm not playing with KJ in any Grandmasters, or 2, I'm not there yet. I'm not a high level yet to get masterworks.
But going again on the same theme, like what are, besides those type of improvements, are there any other ones that are like you guys are just dying to see? You guys are like, go ahead, Marlon.
For me, I have wanted to see 2 improvements. Number 1, I would like to see a very small chance of getting masterwork drops on low levels, because I want Infusion to be in the game. You know, I would love to be able to, let's say for example that as you are in low level, get a masterwork weapon, you know, And it doesn't have to be, a legendary. It can be just epic. It can be something that just, ties you into like, oh, I just got some nice loot, like the exotics, like the legendary stuff like that. But you want to be able to progress it, keep it, feel like it's a part of you, that you have taken these weapons throughout the months, the years, and you have kept it going. Because it just feels good, Right now, the way that the game is, like I picked up a weapon and I'm going, yeah, it's cool, it's stronger, but I prefer the other one, I have more fun playing with the other one. So being able to infuse it into the higher level weapon that I don't use into a lower weapon that I do use, it's something that I would like to see.
Good inscriptions kind of goes with what you're talking about.
Descriptions like
sometimes your inscriptions might be better on your weaker weapon than a better one, but you're forced to use a better one for better power.
Because of the power.
But yeah,
it's like I look at, for example, that happened to me about 2 days ago. I was playing and I got 2 inscriptions. One for my storm. One was I don't know. I can't remember the name right now. It's the ability where you can shoot a fireball and it just basically targets the enemies. It's like a living
flame.
Living flame, yeah. I hate it. I don't like using that. It for me, it never feels like it's powerful. It just feels like it's just tickling the guys. I prefer using the lightning base, powers. I like using the ice base powers. Maybe the blast sometimes, but that living flame, I don't use it, and I keep getting it over and over and over. It's like 25, 26, 27. Like, I don't need that. So
go ahead, Andrew.
So what you're kind of just talking about, that's one thing I kind of mentioned to you guys, like outside of this on a chat. But it'd be cool to have, I feel like a skill tree type leveling you could do. For example, like the storm, you could have a lightning tree or a fire tree or ice tree or something that you could pick perks in to help with your build. The other classes got different variations of different skill trees, but leveling right now to me is also very bland. I don't feel like there's much excitement in leveling up right now. And if Anthem could implement a better, like I guess more engaging leveling system to help with builds and stuff, I think that would also be a big improvement on the game.
Yeah, they had mentioned at one point where there was supposed to be some kind of skill tree that involved your pilot. They pulled it out of the game literally days before they released the game. Didn't come in with the day one patch. And then we've really never heard anything more from it since then. And
I thought
I'm kind of wondering whether that has something to do with that.
Like, let me tell you this: once a game comes out, don't ever go watch E3 presentations of something. Don't watch, old trailers, because you're gonna feel so demoralized. Like, what the game could have been. What you actually got, and it's just like, why?
Actually, one of the things that I really would like to see, and I spoke about it again outside on the Discord. I think it was KJ who was talking about it in terms of he only uses the Ranger, right? And Justin only uses the Ranger. I only have a Ranger. But if they could somehow find a way to incentivize it, I think KJ said earlier on the show that he did a stronghold and he got a masterwork component or inscription for a Colossus, and I'm like, that's cool. But I don't think that's going to incentivize KJ to use a Colossus or to start a Colossus build. But I'm like, but if they had a weapon that he'd look at and he'd be like, whoa, right? And this goes back to what I was talking about, where I would love for them to have exclusive masterworks and legendaries for particular javelins. Like based on KJ provided me this website and I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, so in terms of the weapons only, I think it's only the Colossus who has exclusive weapons, which is the autocannon. But the other javelins don't have something like that. And it would be so cool if they had exclusive masterwork or legendaries. I think that Marlon had spoken and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the Interceptor had like some sort of knives or some sort of swords, right? Because that sort of plays to his build. And I think that would be another way that they could not only improve the game, but incentivize players who usually stick to just one class or javelin to experiment with other javelins.
I think honestly it'd be really cool for the Interceptor because they've almost hinted at this a little bit in the game. I know none of you guys have gotten this far, but once you complete some of the challenges and things like that, when you go into that first area that you load into, kind of underground there in Fort Tarsis, there's like all these little items that are in stations that have a little bit of a story element to them, and they have like a little podium, and you kind of can look at different items. And one of the items that they have is a set of two handguns, and they're like a dual wielding set of handguns. And how cool would that be to have, like on an Interceptor, like that be their particular weapon of choice, to where you have dual wielding handguns as the Interceptor. Now the Ranger has certain items that other we're not saying that certain Interceptors don't have different things that other Interceptors don't, because they all do, right? The Interceptor has like a heavily built melee type build, whereas the Ranger has the assault launcher, and the Storm is able to hover longer, and then they're able to use more of the elemental stuff, and then the Colossus has the differentiating weapons and the physical shield versus the energy shield. We all get that, but I truly agree with Goose when he says specific weapons for a specific javelin would really be cool, because then it will take you out of your comfort zone, because you're wanting to go and test out what that feels like. And, I've played Interceptor a little bit. I've never played Storm. I've played Colossus one time. The gameplay itself in itself is just not for me. I do enjoy the Ranger, and I do feel comfortable there. But if there was some kind of incentive that was making me just want to go play that a little bit more, I probably would dabble a little bit more in Interceptor, maybe even go over and play Colossus. I don't think I'll ever play Storm, just not my thing. I don't like being back.
Gotcha. You like being in the action in the trenches.
Dude, I mean, when I do martial arts, when I do whatever, even when I played soccer, man, I was in people's face all the time. That's the way I play.
He wants to be Todd Gurley. He doesn't want to be Tom Brady. Okay, there's a difference.
See how you said soccer, not baseball, Goose? Just putting that out there.
God.
I played baseball for a little bit. When I was like 6 or something, I played that.
That's a child's game, KJ. Come on.
Baseball's not a child's game, okay? It's very nuanced, okay?
I would like to chime in here. How Anthem can improve on my end. Cover system. That is this. I know. Don't.
Everyone's like, to our listeners out there, everybody's shaking their heads.
I try to. For the listeners, we've gone back and forth, and we've had a couple of debates about this. But I will try to save Justin from himself here. So actually, I tried to save him last night, I think, or the night before. And what I was telling him was like, hey, I think what's going on when he plays the game is that he feels that some of the freelancers, or his freelancer in particular, is a bit squishy. I will agree with him. I hopped on, I think it was Saturday, I was playing with the fellas, and I was using my Ranger, and I was facing off against a Titan, and I think we were doing a mission. We were helping Justin out with something. I think it was the final stronghold.
Yeah, it was the final stronghold with
and some of those Titans were just taking me out right away, and I'm like, this doesn't feel fun, right? I just kept getting knocked down and having to be revived. I'm like, this doesn't feel fun. For me in particular, there were visual tells, but at the angle that the fireball comes at you, it was hard for me to see them. And I'm playing on a huge TV, right, with my glasses on, by the way, for those funny folks out there. So I'm like, man, I could totally see why he would want a cover system. I have always debated him and told him the game doesn't need a cover system. The game wasn't designed to have a cover system, because it's a run and gun. You hop, you skip, You jump, you fly, you hover, right? That's the way the game is designed.
Justin, what do you do? Say it again.
Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
And die. And die a lot.
This is only the
one
movie
of them
reference he
as
has.
well,
I got to
so-
give him as many opportunities to use it as possible. I'm
The
sorry.
six Ds of Anthem.
But look, I'm telling you right now, a cover system. Like okay, you're talking to a Gears player. You're talking to a Gears veteran player over here, and when I'm playing Anthem,
A veteran of the Pendulum Wars.
Yes. For all you gearheads out there. So we're doing that stronghold. We were all playing together, and I saw my shield go down, my health bar was like at a sliver, and I was like, oh, I have to do one of the 5Ds of dodgeball. So I do a 180 spin, I start booking it the other way, and a single shot came in, poof, took me down.
He forgot the last
All right.
assist.
You know what?
Guys, one thing though, all of that was done pre-patch.
Yes.
And there was the health bug going on. And honestly, I will tell you that there was certain times that I'd be playing the game and I would notice the difference between having the health bug currently active on my player and not having the health bug currently active on my player. There was a big difference. And when I got on last night and I was playing, it was a totally different level of play. So much harder to take me down, even at GM2, and I played GM3 a little bit last night. So much harder to take me down in those situations. It was not like one of these one-shot kills constantly. And so I think
I would even pop the shield. And that little ranger shield that he has, and that thing would get taken down in a shot. I'm like, dude, this is the most that they'll give me with the cover system in this game. It's just
I think that you'll feel a little bit of a difference with the patch as you play a little bit more in it, because there's still no cover system, but your player is not as squishy. I'll say that.
To bring it back to the changes that we would love to see in Anthem happen. Some of these things, it's just us, wishful thinking. But I think Justin's idea isn't as bad, but you would have to modify it. For example, you could put it out that they have an ability for the storm, where he puts up a shield that basically heals a nearby player from far away. Give a little bit more support to the role of the storm, because right now he's just basically like a quarterback, just going flinging lightning and fire, but not really being supported to the cause, because the shield for the storm really doesn't do anything. It just
there is no shield.
The storm is supposed to be squishy. I disagree, Marlon. I think that Justin's idea is a complete and total disaster. I mean, it's a big disaster.
Agreed. How often you see Iron Man taking cover? You see him flying around, shooting stuff.
But his frustration is sound. I would love to hear Justin play the game after the patch, right? Where where KJ mentions that they buff some of the health and they buff some of the armor, and see if there's a difference, and have him come back and say, hey, I feel good out there. I don't feel like I'll be one-shotted. I don't feel like I'll be squishy. I don't think I need a cover system. And that'd be great. Go ahead, Marlon.
For me, to bring back to the whole topic about change and stuff like that, one change that I would love to see, and that is the ability of being able to acquire the microtransactions organically in the game. Not from, like, for example, like
go ahead, finish your thought, and I'm gonna write on that.
Basically, like, how Destiny plays, you get your your engrams, stuff like that, from Tess Evers, where you're playing missions.
Vendor specific weapons and armor. That's what we need, dude.
Basically,
because
like,
the vendors.
Because you would love to see, because you have all these factions in the game, but all you're doing is just add a reputation to them. There's nothing to those factions. After you complete them, you get some nice, cool shaders. But no, like, you build a relationship with these people. You made progress in their storyline and stuff like that. You would love to see specific from from
The
Fort
Sentinels
Tarsus,
and-
you know,
yeah.
for you know the
The Arcanists and
the
stuff like
Arcanists.
Yeah,
that.
the
The
Arcanists,
Arcanists.
the Sentinels, you know, all
Sentinel,
these different
like-
groups. Yep, the
And- and-
freelancers.
You see
And
how
they may have
limited that
different
stuff is?
perks, you know, different things. You know, the Sentinels may be more, you know, perks to do more for the storms, you know, stuff like that. You know, the Arcanists might be more suited for the Rangers and for the Colossus. That type of thing, you know.
They did have the one armor set that looks like a Sentinel.
The
For
one
the
with
Ranger.
toga.
Yeah, the one with the toga. You basically can look like a Sentinel if
Yeah.
you wanted to as a Ranger. They did have that one set. But I think, you know, going to the improvements, I mean, they need to have some kind of true vanity chest. I really do believe that. I mean, when somebody says to me vanity chest, okay, I'm thinking something that's actually going to affect the look physically of my javelin. And that led me to believe armor. I am still 100% dead certain that in one of the Twitch streams that they said 150 pieces, not 67, and they said armor. And
Yeah,
then somehow
they
that
said
got rolled
150.
back, and it got rolled back again, and now we're at these different whatever items it is. I don't know, but I do remember that very specifically, and I do remember the words armor being mentioned. I think that enemy-themed weapons and armor would be really cool. Not just factions, but enemy-themed. And we have a little bit of that with some of these Scar armors that got released for both the Storm and the Ranger. And we've seen what they look like for the Interceptor and the Colossus, but nobody has them yet because they haven't released them. But we've seen them. That would be kind of cool if they kind of did that with like an outlaw look, or if they did, you know, a look that's more Dominion looking in itself. Even an Urgoth version. How cool would that be if like you were out searching around in Bastion and all of a sudden you came across a chest or some sort of quest or something like that, and it led you to find, you know, lost armor of the Urgoth, you know, because they haven't been around for so long, except for this one that we killed or whatever else. I mean, you've seen them in game, but you don't really get a feel for them. And I don't want to do any like major spoilers with anything, but you know, the Urgoth is part of this game, and we barely see anything having to do with them other than the 3 statues in the back left corner of the free play. So let's see something involving those.
And KJ, to piggyback on you on that, because you reminded me of something that Andrew said that for me was like why that was genius. Why couldn't we add that? And I'll let Andrew explain more about it. I'll just say this: the fact that we could be able to just do crafting based on the environment that we are, you know, basically go out to the world, free play, you know, gather materials, gather, you know, weapons and stuff like that, to be able to craft items based on the enemies that we kill. You know, oh, you killed like 10,000 Gravids, you know, hey, listen, if you can bring the materials back, we can do like a cool Gravids theme, you know, vinyl, or a cool Gravids theme, you know, armor set for yourself, you know, and like Monster Hunter does, you know, where you're able to go out there and just explore and use the environment to basically, you know, modify and specialize your javelin. And when Andrew said it, I was like, wow, that never thought about that.
Yeah, the current crafting system is, in my opinion, pretty weak. You have a blueprint for a weapon, and so you know what weapon you're going to make pretty much with it, but you don't know what inscriptions are going to come with it. And like in KJ's instance, you could craft something 100+ times and not like a single version of that. So why not just, like, an improvement suggestion would be just, why not eliminate the randomness of that and have it to where you could purposely put specific materials into that crafting of that item to increase certain stats. So gotcha. I think the example I used in our Discord chat was like a wyvern, wyverns shoot fire, so they're like fire beasts. Imagine killing wyverns and hunting or gathering materials from them to do something for a fire build, fire resistance, or increase fire damage, or to add a fire effect to your gun, even materials to crafting armor and stuff like that. I think that would be pretty awesome as well. But that's all. This is just hopeful.
Yeah, it's just
It's not there.
Well, one of the other things that I had brought up when we were talking about stuff was like the free play events in general. And I was actually talking with one of the guys on Twitter. I think it was one of the guys from your Anthem or the Anthem Codex guys. And he had kind of brought up something about, maybe adding different effects to the free play events when there's, something out there, and you're trying to gather these materials to bring back to a certain location or whatever, that those materials themselves had their own effects to them, like a fire or an ice resistance or something like that. And I had even brought up, well, just because it's been brought up in the lore, like what if some of these shaper things affected gravity, and like you grabbed up like a certain element and you're trying to run it back to a different position, but all of a sudden like your controls inverted on you because the gravity changed. I mean, how cool would it be to have different things like that going? Or if you grabbed a certain material that, if you held on to it for so long, it froze you. So you could only hold on to it for a few seconds and you'd have to drop it and then fight off some guys and then pick it back up again while your character was heating back up, so that it gave a little bit more of an element of, I'm not just grabbing up a piece and bringing it back to point A to add it to this shaper relic so that we, I don't know, cool it off or whatever. I don't know what you want to call that, but you stop it from, exploding or creating more or beasts or whatever. But what if there was some sort of element to each one of those pieces that you picked up? Like if you grabbed up a piece and like all of a sudden that was the fire element, and then all of a sudden you started to overheat and your shield started going down. So you could only hold on to it for so long and you'd have to drop it and then kill off some guys or something like that while your shield kind of came back.
Yeah, more interactive missions that make you feel like that it's not just shoot this, kill that, pick up this, pick up. No, it feels interactive with the world, and that you are part of, of this whole experience, because sometimes, you get used to just killing things and you're just blasting everything, but you never feel that you're connected to what this cataclysms are happening, to all this thing that's going on. I can see where you're coming from with that, KJ. So I like that.
So yeah, kind of like what you're talking about. It'd be these shaper relics and tools and stuff like that are supposed to be the things that created this world. They're supposed to be like these powerful items, and yet the only thing they do right now is summon monsters or nads to kill.
Yeah,
and that's boring.
Like,
at first it's cool, but after a while, it's repetitive.
I'm excited to see what the Cataclysm brings, honestly, in the game. But until then, there's got to be. You're right. It all it does is summon monsters. So what about all these other things that we've heard about them that they can do? It doesn't seem like they're doing any of that. And one of the other things that I brought up was secrets in the game. Like there's all these different things that we can go and we can collect, but there's no real anything to it once you collect them. Like maybe you get a little bit of extra coin or something like that. But like one of the things I've noticed in a lot of other games is that there's like actual secrets hidden in the game. And I just haven't found that. Yeah, I haven't found that yet. Like, there's got to be some kind of something where it's just like, oh, wow, man, that's so cool. Nobody even realized that there was this hidden secret. And the best thing that I've found so far as a secret is like there's like 3 hidden areas in the Tyrant Mine that you can go to. But the fact is that if you're running with a squad of 4 and not all 4 people are running with you, like they just run ahead, you can never get to those areas. So
I'm so happy that KJ mentioned that because he says that, and I always go back. It's like it's vivid in my mind. It's just crazy. I never ever forget when in Destiny 1 we had that one mission where you could get the exotic version of that sniper rifle. I'm blanking on the name of it.
Black Spindle.
Black
Spindle.
Black
The
Spindle.
Black Spindle.
And yeah, and that's exactly what KJ's talking about. Like we don't want Bioware to announce it. We want to come across it. We want to feel like we as a community found it, and it was like this thing that we didn't know about, and we did it, and we got something out of it. Like those are the type of things that they need. And it sounds reductive and unfair to BioWare to say, hey, just follow Bungie's plan, because certainly that's not what they're going to do, and they're going to do their own thing. But if they can sort of incorporate that type, see, because I've said this before, but I'm of the belief that once someone steps out first, they are the standard bearer. They set the standard, and you may not want to do exactly what they've done, but there's just rules that you're going to have to abide by, whether you like it or not, because the community has come to expect it already. Right. So that's why you're always going to get these comparisons. They can always do their own thing, and they can always sprinkle their own Bio-awareness to it, if you will. But I think that in a sense, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm so tired of playing Destiny. I'm just so done with that game. But I think that they set the standard, and I was sort of expecting, and this is not a fault of BioWare. I can't fault BioWare for not living up to what I thought they would be in relation to Bungie. Go ahead, KJ.
Well, one of the things that I think does kind of upset me a little bit is, okay, so the Tyrant Mine does have secret spaces in it, and you can go there, right? But even when you get there, there's not much to it. Like, I want there to be a secret space. I want to be there to be an unfound area that I can explore with the group, and when I get there, that there's something to do. Right?
Gotcha.
Whether there's a secret lever someplace that unlocks this, or whether there's some sort of mini boss there that I can kill, and it has a definite loot drop of X, Y, and Z. Whatever it is, I don't care what it is. Make it secret, make it interesting, make it fun, make it there be something that goes, oh wow, I just found something, and that is something that sets that apart. And you can do that. I mean, they did it in the Tyrant Mine. There were certain areas that were secret. I honestly, I've gone into the other ones, and I have not been able to find. I've been actively seeking out to see if there's secret areas in the other two strongholds, and I have not been able to find anything. Doesn't mean that there isn't anything, but I have not been able to find anything. If anybody has found something, please hit us up and let us know about that.
All right, go ahead, Andrew. You want to say something?
Yeah, so I guess what you're basically saying is that there's no sense of exploration. There's no, you have this huge world and then nothing to really explore in it. You just do point A and point B missions, and then that's it. You're out of there back to Fort Tarsus. But you want to be able to explore more.
There's definitely things to explore. Like there's the green symbols on the side of the walls that show up sometimes, and there's a whole bunch of those. And I've found, I think I'm down to like 13 more that I have to find in the game right now. But what does that get me?
Yeah, that's more collecting than
that's what I'm saying. It's like there's a collectible thing, and I get some coin for finding it or whatever, but there's nothing that sits there, and I've been picking them up along the way as I go, because why not? Right. But I'm not actively seeking them out, because there's nothing that's telling me, I really got to have those because it's going to get me a Black Spindle.
Yeah, kind of comparing it to like a Skyrim or like a Fallout game or something. There's no, you want to find something and then they be able to explore it, to find something that wasn't intentional, and then get something out of it pretty much. So I don't know, finding a secret boss or whatever you're talking about, get some kind of item from it. But yeah, I agree. There needs to be more to do in the open world.
Yeah.
Like secret wise.
And honestly, all of those things work within the current system. It's not like we're adding anything to it, right? If you have an area, a space that's already available in the Tyrant Mine, right?
Use it.
I mean, I'm not a developer, but I can't see it being difficult to add some ads to that area and then make sure that there's a particular type of drop that goes along with those ads.
Here,
I don't know.
let me give you a beautiful scenario for you. So you go to Grandmaster 2. Go to the Tyrant's Mine. You know, you're walking through the cave system. You're basically killing enemies left and right. And then you see a little hole you've never seen before. You know, you go in there and there's like this
secrets.
And there's like this machine, like this you get into it and you hear something going kung kung kung, like all the way to in the faraway system of the mines. You get back there and instead of looking at the Tyrant's Mine boss, you get something different. You get a much more powerful version of the boss, and and you kill it, but then it's like it goes away. It basically breaks through the wall, starts hiding, and you have to go into this chase to get this thing, and you finally get into this open area on the bottom. You kill it, and as soon as you kill it, like this new Elysium chest, like a golden Elysium chest comes out, and it drops loot that you never seen before. You know, like armor that's for the Tyrant Mines. You know, something that basically says, hey, listen, we reward you for basically doing all these things, you know. It's
all right, Bioware, hire Marlon. You got some good story ideas that you're lacking, obviously.
You gotta hire Saltface.
Just don't ask him about his junior year.
Straight from South Beach.
God,
Marlon.
It's the things that makes you go like, wow, like it's a secret thing that basically it incorporates the fact that you're higher level. It incorporates the fact that it makes you want to chase new activities that you've never done before, and it makes you get specific loot from the area. You know, maybe it'll drop an armor that has like the Tyrant Mine spider, you know, chest coming out from the armor, Paul's It makes you look like, oh, this guy's a badass. He killed like the black mamba, you know, or the Tyrant Mines, you know, something like that, you know.
Goose doesn't like spiders, so he'll never get that that armor.
He doesn't
set.
like cockroaches, which is the difference, okay?
And if you
Especially
guys,
the flying ones.
listeners ever hear like a yelp in the background, it's Gustavo killing something, some kind of roach.
Hit the box.
So the last thing I guess I would add to improvements that I want to see to make Anthem better is just to improve upon the enemy AI. There's been so many instances where the enemy is just standing there or doing something stupid that it's just bad programming, in my opinion. And then more enemy types as well. I mean, you have like the ice dogs, for example. You could have a fire dog or a lightning dog, or different change the element types of the Titans, because they're all the little elementals he spawns are different elements as well. Why is the Titan only the same element every single time? Things like that where they could improve upon.
Yeah, no, I mean, those little elemental things, they have different versions of those. So, I mean, you're right. Like if they had an ice Titan, if they had a acid Titan and an electricity Titan, whatever, those would be definite improvements to the way the game plays, you know. I also noticed something else that you brought up, Andrew, that you in our chat, but you hadn't brought up is being able to switch shoulders in your field of view.
Yeah, so I guess that's more for Justin's benefit than anybody who likes to hide behind cover. But you have a third-person shooter, and right now there's no way to swap your shoulder view. So if you're behind cover, you could peek out the right side and not be exposed. Just using an example, and then, but if you try to peek out the left side, you're completely exposed. So even if you're hovering or flying around, that's the kind of same thing. You can't swap that shoulder view to protect yourself. And then some people play better, I guess, on the other perspective because they're actually left-handed or right-handed or whatever, and they like those other views. Where right now you can't change that, which is kind of a big oversight if you ask me. If you have a third-person shooter.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree. That's one. It's one that I got used to. I remember when I first played the game. Usually, games have it mapped to you press in on R3,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I remember when I first picked up the game, the first day it came out. I remember I kept pressing R3, and I'm like, that's weird. It's not changing the shoulder view. It's not swapping the shoulder view. So I went to the menu, which this is a nitpick. I don't think I've ever heard anybody complain about the menu within our group. But the menu, I'm sorry, the menu is just
The menu is stupid.
not.
I'm sorry.
That UI is just not in. It's
not user friendly.
It's not user friendly at all.
at
Like
all.
I went to pick up a bounty over at, I forgot who gives me the bounties, but I went to pick up I went to pick up my weeklies on Saturday, and I pick them up and it takes me directly to a menu once I do, and I had to press the back button, which is on the DualShock 4, 3 times before it took me back to Fort Tarsus. And I'm like, this is not user friendly. It's just not good. I didn't like it. I know probably people just get used to it and they don't talk about it, but I'm like, I got to bring this up because instead of having like for example, you can contextualize it. You can have something where if you want to go back to the preceding screen, you can just press O once, or if you want to back out completely, you can long press O in order to go back. Yeah. All these little type of small things, which I'm pretty sure they're not easy to implement. We think they can just implement them right away. I'm pretty sure if they were easy, they would have done them already. But those are the type of things that I don't want to say piss me off, but just it
grinds his gears.
It puts a damper. It's just these little things that just puts a damper on the experience overall. Go ahead, KJ.
Honestly, Destiny, like we said, we're always going to have comparisons back to Destiny, but the stuff that Destiny put into the system recently.
And I think we might have
with
I think we may have lost KJ.
And all of that stuff where you can kind of go to that, look through all that. That all works. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. You're good.
Okay.
You're good now. Yeah.
So the Triumph system that Destiny put into effect, that works really well. And I like the way that whole menu kind of lays out. And I think that's great. But honestly, that took the community to create that for Destiny to listen and to put it into place. Now, not saying that BioWare shouldn't just look over at what Destiny's doing and say, hey, that works. But honestly, I remember when My Name is Bife, he put that video together showing off, hey, this is a great system. This is how it should work. Destiny, why don't you do this? And it literally took the community to put it together to say, hey, Destiny developers, you should do this for Destiny to even do something like that.
I'm going to piggyback off what KJ said earlier, which he said it, and I like in my head I rolled my eyes. I'm like, no way, dude. But now that I think about it, KJ's absolutely right. Like they can't see the forest for the trees. They're in a bubble, and I look at it this way. I'm like, I'm just like a measly gamer. Like I'm not a game developer. I don't eat, breathe, and sleep games, although I do, but not to the extent that I think a developer would, right? So I have all these ideas. We have all these ideas, and I'm like, how can you dismiss this? This is like, it's so blatant. Like, can't you fix it? Can't you see that this is going to be an issue? But KJ's right. They can't. I'm of the belief that they can't because they're just knee deep in the game and they're just focused on getting it out for launch, or they were focused on getting it out for launch, and now they're just like, oh well, this is what we planned 6 years ago. And we set the track down to do this particular game, and it's come out. But since those 6 years have passed, the world has changed. Yeah. How games are made has changed. Trends have changed. And we didn't accommodate for that when making our game, when designing our game at the onset. And now we have to pivot and switch. And that doesn't happen right away. And that is evidence just by what KJ said. That is evidence by Destiny. That is evidence by Division and the community coming forward to helping these developers out in one way or another.
Yeah, every single one of these games is like turning the Titanic. It's not going to happen immediately. You can spin that wheel all you want and spin it all the way to the left or the right, but that sucker ain't going to turn on a dime.
No,
it's going to hit that iceberg.
It is.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Iceberg, right ahead.
Somebody on Reddit basically said it best. BioWare created a boat that was meant for summer weather, they were not ready for winter weather. And that boat has been getting hit by an iceberg left and right, and BioWare has been trying to basically plug the holes and failing at it. Because every single time they try to, like you said earlier in the podcast, every single time they try to fix something, they have to basically take off their hand, plug another hole, and just try to do something, weird about it, and it just ruins the whole entire system. They are in reactive mode. They're not in proactive mode, and that is not helping them at all. It is just causing them more problems than they can.
I agree, and I'm going to try to bring it home here, and Cage is going to help me with this one. One of the things that I have been heartened by is how transparent they've been with the community, how quick they've been to fix some of the mistakes that they've done with some of the patches. Like, for example, like before we went to the show, I saw this tweet, I think by Jesse Anderson, who goes, is he the one that goes by Daryl Kaz or something?
Yeah, that's the community manager, Jesse.
So he had retweeted something that a developer put out, and he was like, hey, these two issues regarding so there were two problems where the new patch had two particular big bugs where you weren't getting your guaranteed masterwork for, I think, GM for the strongholds.
GM1, GM2 strongholds.
So you weren't getting your guaranteed masterwork, and players were picking up the loot for you. Although at the end of the game, when you return back to Fort Tarsus, you did get your loot, but you just weren't able to pick it up. Somebody picked it up for you. So within a day, that was fixed. But I want to invoke a game that came out like two years ago, and it just got panned by the media after being so hyped, and that's No Man's Sky. That game came out, and it wasn't what everybody thought it was. Sean Murray and his team over at Hello Games, they completely failed. They didn't deliver. They oversold and underdelivered, to say the least. But to credit them, they put their heads down. It was a small team. I think it's a team of 12, unlike BioWare, but it's a small team. And they went to work. And they started pumping out updates after update after update. And sometimes it would take a little longer than most. But they have got the game to a level that is more than acceptable. I don't want that to happen to Anthem. I don't want Anthem to take 2 years to realize its potential. I want it to happen quickly. I want it to happen in the next 6 months. I want it to happen yesterday. But I think that the game is going to end up where it needs to be. And that's where I open it to you guys before we close out. Like, what do you guys want Anthem to be for each and every one of you? Justin, you can take this one.
So kind of like piggybacking off of what you just said, for like as a personal experience with the No Man's Sky thing, if they came out with No Man's Sky 2, I was just so scarred by the first one. It was just a terrible game. I would not pick up No Man's Sky 2 if it was in development or if it was coming. But there are other games, ergo Division, that we're able to recover like that, and I believe that Anthem will be able to do the same in the second coming. Like I said, they are listening. The developers are listening. They're slowly putting these things together. That's pretty much all I have for that.
Well, the fact that they're listening is good. I like the fact that they're listening. It's a conversation with the developers of BioWare. We're with other game houses. It has never seemed like a conversation. Although none of them have personally responded to any of my tweets, and I'm a little sour on that. They do respond to community tweets on the regular.
Ben Irving responded to my tweet.
Just salt in the wounds, man. Just salt in the wounds. But they seriously, they actually have a conversation with the community, which is a good thing, and I think that can do nothing but help them overall. Where do I want to see the game? I want to see the game in a state where I come home from the end of a very hard day of work, and I've gotten the kids in bed at the end of the night, and then I go and I turn it on, and it's a smooth transition into playing the game. I have nothing that impedes me from getting onto the system, that I can actually play, that the gameplay is, I'm not getting kicked off from the game as I'm playing it, that I feel that the loot that I am acquiring as I go through the game, that it is well deserved. It feels like it fits the activity that I'm working in, and that that it feels like I'm actually earning something every time I go into the game. Like there's some value to it.
Gotcha.
I want to see. I'm a champion for this game. I want to see Anthem succeed. There are things that I'm not happy with at the moment, and I think I've been pretty clear in expressing that throughout the show today. But I see the potential that the game has, and honestly, Division One. I go back to this fairly regular. Division One, when it first came out, God, just made me so angry with the way that things were going with that game, because I really wanted to enjoy the game, and I just got so mad at it, and I just shut it off and I refused to play it. And I went back to it when Destiny got stagnant, and the game was so much better after several major patches and so much more playable and stuff. But it took them a long time to get there. I want to see Anthem get there, but I want to see them get there much, much faster than Division 1 took. And I think that they have the ability to do that. And I think that the communication that the team is having with the community at the level that they're having it, and the fact that it is an actual conversation, can do nothing but lead to that quicker than it did with Division 1. That's my take. Marlon?
I mean,
secrets.
I there's so many things with the Anthem. Well, the Bioware can do with Anthem that could take it different ways, different areas that could basically make the game better. For me, my biggest take of this whole past month with Anthem is that I just want to see less talk from the developers from, hey, we get it, we knew this is happening, and more, hey, we have new things coming for you, we have new activities for you, we have new things to make you chase for loot, as opposed to just being, yeah, we know there's issues right here, we gotta fix them for you. Yeah, we know we have. No, I don't want to see. They have done a great job at trying to fix little things, but I want to see it's just more of the roadmap of what we were supposed to have, the cataclysms, the aspirational content, things that make you want to play the game, as opposed to just more of the same, which is, oh yeah, this is broken, let's fix it. Oh, that's broken, let's fix it. That's fine and good, but there's only so much that a player can take when he just keeps wanting to play a game, and there's so much red tape to cut through to actually play the game. I mean, I've been playing Sekiro, and from the get-go, it was just bang, enjoying, fun, Yes,
Shadows die twice.
It's hard, but it's like you go in there, you have fun, you play it. There's no red tape to cut through. Can you imagine me playing Sekiro, trying to stream it? It's like, sorry, cannot connect to the servers. Sorry, your weapon has a bug that enables it to actually kill the enemies. Like that type of thing just makes you go like, no, I don't want to play this. We have seen Bioware is able to put out good content. We have seen it with Mass Effect. We have seen it with Dragon Age. We have seen it with all of these RPG games that they have come out with. We have seen wonderful storylines. We know the pedigree is there. Just show it. Give it to us. That's my point of the whole Anthem and what I would love to see in the future. Because we know it's gonna get fixed, but how many people are going to be there when it gets fixed? How many people are going to just put up another 2-3 years like we have with Destiny, like we have with Division, like we have with all this type of games? At some point, you get tired of it, So we know it's going to get there, but for me, it has to get there quickly or...
I want to jump in real quick on something that Marlon said, because it's something that I've thought about. I've wanted to stream this game, and how big in gaming right now is streaming. I mean, it's a huge part of the gaming environment. I have wanted to stream this game, but can't, because I don't trust enough that if I were to go on and say, I'm going to be on in 30 minutes to play Anthem, that I could physically get on in 30 minutes to play Anthem, because there has been times when it has taken me 30 to 40 minutes to even get my player into the world so that I can play the game, because of pilot errors and whatever. Now, I know that they said that they fixed 90% of those, but I'm not betting that there's a 10% chance that if I was somebody that was doing that to earn money in streaming, now I'm not, but if I was, I'm not betting my paycheck on a 10% chance that I can possibly not even get onto this game for the evening, or have a bunch of viewers waiting on me because I said I was going to be on in 30 minutes and then I can't get on, and then that potential money earned, monetary value that's associated with that. I could have been doing something else where people were watching me stream a different game and making money. I'm not taking that chance. So I think that that's a big aspect of the game right now, that, they need to fix those things, because more people streaming the game and playing the game and showing it off and showing the beauty that's within this game is going to lead to more people wanting to play it. So that's just another thing that I had thought about. Goose, what else you got, bro?
Now, I was going to kick it right back to we haven't heard from Andrew in terms of what you'd want to see.
I don't know. I just want the game, I guess, to be in a state where I could play for hundreds of hours and don't feel like I was wasting my time. I want to get stuff that I could show off to my friends, and in return take that stuff that I just got and have some kind of hero moment with it. I mean, you're essentially playing a hero in this game. I mean, I don't, like, for example, in Destiny, you had a Galahorn or something where someone else didn't. You could do more damage than they can. Like I just want, I guess, that feeling of like accomplishment type of thing. Right now, I don't know. I don't feel that when I play Anthem right now. I just kind of feel like I'm just aimlessly wandering right now. I want it to be, I just want it to feel, I guess, engaging and worthwhile.
Gotcha. It's just not there right now. Totally agree. But having said that, KJ, brother, bring us home.
Well, I appreciate everybody listening to us. I know it turned, I wouldn't say into like a downer. I don't think it was a downer, but I think it's definitely something that was necessary to talk about, where the game is, where it's going, where we think things need to go. It's definitely something that we need to have a discussion with week to week. Yeah, Goose, what were you saying?
I think a good word would be cathartic. We got it out of our system.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. When I used to do these things, back in the military and stuff like that, we used to do these things where it's like a fireside, right? And everybody would kind of gather around a campfire, and you talk about all the different problems that maybe you had with each individual person, or just the systems in general and things like that. And you got it all out and you threw it in the fire and you got rid of it. And it was like this overwhelming feeling of release and relief. And then you could go about your business, because you had to rely on the guy next to you, right? You got to be able to rely on him. And if you got like something bitter, like down inside that you're harboring towards that person, you got to get it out. So I feel like maybe we got that out today.
Super nerdy. But you said fireside chats, and immediately I'm like, yeah, FDR. That's exactly what that is. His fireside chats.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you kind of, I don't know. It's a cleansing a little bit. You get it out. We've done that. We got it out. Everybody can go in with a fresh head, tomorrow into the game, and then let's take this thing on and push the pedal to the metal and enjoy our time that we're playing in Anthem. Enjoy it together. Enjoy it as a team.
A nice big colon cleansing. Yes.
Yeah, why do I
God,
feel so
Lord.
dirty still?
Oh,
God.
Justin, that's because you are dirty, dude. You just that's just
He's
you,
a grab
bro.
it. That's why he is. Okay.
He is. No, I'm. After the Grabbit Overlord's response to Andrew the other day, man, I am no longer believing that Andrew is the Grabbit Overlord. Andrew was not too happy with that guy.
I almost went on a grab it killing spree, man. I was really close.
Yes, he did.
He's like, I'm gonna sell him some Grabbit pelts.
Some pelts, some lucky Grabbit foots, some ears to complement the look.
Make a Grabbit stew.
All right, so with that, we're gonna end it. That's all the time we have for today, boys. So let's suit up and hit the high road. Stronger alone, stronger together. Freelancers,
Roll
Roll
out.
out. Oh God, this
Oh my goodness.
dirty Grabbit.
I felt good. This, I was a little worried about the outline. I'm like, is